I adore anime. It is a medium that I have always been fascinated by, and each year I became more obsessed with it. The animation, stories, comedy, and most importantly, the characters have great appeal to them. When seeing anime or video game characters, most of the time there is something that makes you look up to them. When I look at a character like Thorfinn go from this teenager full of rage that never understood the words of his father to this responsible adult that has a more pacifistic approach to life, it inspires me to do better. What I also love is that most of the time these characters are in peak human condition and feel like something that we cannot achieve, but still show signs of weakness and intricate problems that we also have. That is something that we can connect with. Consequently, we can get quite attached to these characters, and for the more hardcore people, begin to designate a certain character as your waifu or husbando. And I was one of these people. As a like 15 to 16 year old, I decided that Miku from Quintessential Quintuplets was my waifu. I just really loved her character and literally thought that I wanted someone like her as my girlfriend. But, well, you know, she was still a fictional character and I could never interact with her. And that was okay. I didn't need to have a fictional character to interact with in real life, because I thought that it was kind of silly. But well, that wasn't the case for everyone. Some people took the waifu and husbando concept a little too far and literally lived like this character was their reality. And I understand that some characters might be extremely important to people. Look at Goku and how he was there for me and so many other people in the world. But you still should put limits to everything. That character will never ever be able to interact with you, and that is a fact. Or at least that's what it should be like. So why the f are there anime girls talking and playing video games while doing some of the most suspicious shit in the world? Vtubing is a concept that already has been here for quite some time. It took its roots in the Japanese idol culture, and these anime girls, just like idols, sing and dance. But they also were involved in other things that a typical idol doesn't do. They became streamers. These anime girls or boys were playing video games, or just started doing some just chatting. All of that made them more approachable than the normal idol, but I think that the most important thing is that they made you feel like talking to that waifu you so loved. Vtubers all have their unique characters and lore, so you're guaranteed to find one that suits your taste in waifus. You'll find catgirls, mummies, brats, menheras, tomboys, pretty much every trope you could wish for. And depending on whether they are an indie Vtuber or a corpo Vtuber, you'll be able to expect different content, ranging from reaction videos to live concerts. Originally, Vtubing wasn't something that was that well known. Kizuna Ai, the godmother of Vtubing, was pretty much the exception to this, as she was a well-known presence on the internet. Vtubing was a niche that a lot of people, me included, didn't know about. Well, that was until the biggest canon event of the last decade. The pandemic was a really complicated time, as you all surely know. For people like me that were around the age of 14 to 15 at the time that COVID broke out, it was a blessing because I didn't have to go to school. I remember that I would then finish all my tasks in the beginning of the week and then hang around with all my friends on Discord, playing video games and having immense amounts of fun. But what I did not know at the time was that I was extremely lucky. While I had fun goofing around and had contact with all of my friends through Discord, other people have been completely isolated from the rest of the world. People who didn't really have friends or couldn't contact them during lockdown were literally alone for months. Any social contact that they might have had by going outside was now gone, which in turn created an immense sense of loneliness. Another problem was the fact that people lost their jobs. If you could not work remotely, you just had to sit at home and hope that a higher intervention would happen for you to survive. These two problems are probably the main reasons as to why Vtubing has been able to become what it is today. People needed something to go towards in these difficult times, and even more if they lacked the social aspect in their life. So streamers were a great way to cope. At the same time, people that lost their jobs now had so much free time in their hands, so some started streaming. Shalili, the Orca Vtuber, is a perfect example of what happened during quarantine. She lost her job and remembered that she used to stream because of it there some of her friends put her to. And now, well, she's one of the most successful content creators on Twitch. I pretty much didn't know anything about the whole Vtubing sphere until around November of 2023.
So, how do you get yourself taken so deep into the Vtubing rabbit hole then?
Well, my good friend, that was a great question that you asked. And I am ready to unfold the story of my descent into the Vtuber rabbit hole. Like some of the greatest stories in fiction, my adventure into the Vtubing space began because of one singular person. Back in the day, I used to be part of one of the most dreadful communities on Earth, the Genshin community. And it's there that I met the most evil being on Earth. A person so problematic that they get cancelled every Tuesday. This demonic bastard with his far too sexy bald head, the second coming of Satan. A man worse than Adolf Hitler himself. Tectone. Man, I love the delusions of Tectone haters. Anyways, Tectone is the first person that exposed me to Vtubing. He exposed me to a Vtuber that I till this day keep on tuning back to, Mifuyu. Mifuyu is a fox shine maiden Vtuber that Tectone got interested in through a certain clip.
My back. Oh! Holy shit, did you guys hear that?
This accident got her some traction, and from then on I tuned in regularly to her streams and even more during her birthday subathon. She became my comfort streamer for a long time and I really enjoyed watching her. But that was as far as my involvement with the Vtubing sphere got to. I did see Cdawgva popping up in my YouTube recommended here and there, but I never was able to tune in to her streams because of my time zone. For a year or two I was consistently watching Mifu streams and was trying my best to be part of the community. I also have got to say that Kikos are one of the best communities that I have ever been part of. Also, on the odd chance that Mifu sees this, hi Mifu, I just wanted to let you know that I really have difficulties choosing who to give my prime to between you or Techie. But I like the Mifu emote slightly better, so I mostly end up giving it to you. Sorry Techie. But well, as I got older and was in my 2 last years of high school, time began to become a resource that I had less and less of. Also probably because of my League of Legends addiction, but we don't talk about that. So I slowly but surely started to disconnect with everything Vtuber related and began to tune less into Mifu stream. I did watch some videos of Vienna here and there, mainly because she also played League, or listened to some of Gura's karaoke songs, but that was about it. Well, that was until I got pushed back into the Vtuber space because of one lovely fairy Vtuber. Rainpuff came out of nowhere into my recommended. I think it was because it was a time where I was interested in Metal Gear games and lore, so I got Vtuber recommended to me. And I really enjoyed her streams. She was energetic, innovative, and her heavy otaku side was something I appreciated a lot. I also want to note that this was in a time where I did not know anything about the difference between indie and corpo Vtubers. Thanks to her, I also got introduced to Mika Milatica and Mr. Rias, 2 other Nijisanji Vtubers, and they also were comfort Vtubers that I liked watching VODs and clips of. I got a lot more Vtuber clips recommended to me because of that, but I never really dived too deep into it.
So, was this when you started diving deep into the rabbit hole?
Well, the short answer is no. By the time I had graduated from high school, I pretty much closed that Vtuber phase of my life. I just literally did not have the time anymore to indulge into it because of other important things. And then it stopped. I had pretty much no Vtuber content on my YouTube recommended anymore. I did tune into some of Mifuyu's streams here and there, but the investment I had in the time wasn't there anymore. And by the time I started college by the end of September 2023, it had pretty much no place in my life. I would probably never have gone back into the Vtuber community again, if it was not for one other person. KuriMaki Stan, or just KuriMaki, is a dude that runs an Insta account that I followed for quite some time. He made a lot of anime and light novel related content, and during times of quarantine, where doom scrolling was even more of a problem than nowadays, he was able to fill so much of my time with nice and funny posts here and there. I also think that he's the only person who I tune in for daily. His stories feel like a blog to me and I really enjoy reading them and catching some glimpses of his experience, especially when the Lakers play or he posts some Vtuber related things. He also was the person that got me into what is one of, if not my favorite rom-com ever, the 100 Girlfriends Who Really Love You. Just like his name might suggest, he's a KuriMaki stan, and that character has been his most loved one for so long as I can remember. Even though there were characters like Stella Vermilion who have been his top one at some times, he never changed his name and Kurisu was still the main waifu on his account. At least, it used to be so. Because one day, I did not find KuriMaki stan. No, the person I found was the late Shiori novella stan. Shiori novella is a Vtuber from the Vtuber agency Hololive. She's an archivist that got locked in jail by the gods for knowing forbidden knowledge. When looking at her character design, everyone rejoiced as she was looking like the perfect, mentally unstable mommy goth girlfriend. But she wasn't. Or at least not totally. She does seem to have the semblance of a Menhera in her, but it mostly gets overshadowed by her other traits. During her debut, a lot of people got surprised by how she sounds, and I can't really blame them. She felt more like a dorky or nerdy girl, not really that mommy goth girlfriend that most people came for. But people like KuriMaki didn't throw her under the bus after that first reveal. I think that it was then that they discovered Shiori's charm. Listening to Shiori is really a great experience. It even is widely spread that novel leads just tune in to listen to her wacky stories because they are that infatuated with her. During KuriMaki's Shiori arc, he was obsessed with her. Actually, I think that calling it an obsession might be too generous for him. Shiori was pretty much everywhere for him. And honestly, I enjoyed being on the sidelines and watching him fall more and more in love with her. That was until one day he got burned out. I don't think that I have the right to talk about whatever happened for him to begin dropping Shiori, so I will let it be. As I saw the events happening, I felt kind of sad. I felt like this person genuinely loved what he did and due to some events that occurred began rejecting what he loved. He was also close to dropping hololive and Vtubing itself. That was how bad the situation had gotten. Good thing that this is all in the past now, as he's back to being the hardcore hololive enjoyer that he was. But having said all that, what does he have to do with me? Well, let's just say that because of him, I fully opened Pandora's box. I got interested in Shiori, so I searched her name on YouTube. Then I got introduced to Advent, the third generation of hololive English. And yep, they got me good.
Time to get this party started.
I am obsessed with Advent. All the girls there are charming in their own way. Biboo is the cute gamer meme lord of the bunch, bringing in that much needed zoomer brain rot into hololive. Fuwamoco is so special with the twin dogs literally streaming everything together. Shiori is a blessing to listen to, just like I talked about, and then we have the person I consider my Kamiyoshi, Nerissa Ravencroft. She has such a soothing voice and enjoyable personality, and she also is a holo fan just like us. But the thing that got me attracted the most to her was her singing. Nerissa's voice is beautiful, and when I heard her cover of Love Me, Love Me, Love Me, I was pretty much sold on being a jailbird. The cover is even more impressive if you take into account that it wasn't just a normal cover. No, my dear friend. It was an English cover of a Japanese song. Now, for the people that never delved into that realm, I will explain to you why I think it is so impressive that this cover hits so hard. And that is because most English covers feel kinda bad. Now, to make sure that you do not misunderstand me, the singing and voices of the people singing the covers aren't bad. These are not the problems most of the time. The problem is the translation itself. When I have J-pop in my ears, I typically do not understand 98% of what is sung in the song, because well, I don't speak Japanese. But the second it gets translated, there are a lot of problems that start forming with the song. First off, the translation itself. With first being able to understand the lyrics, we also get subjected to having an interpretation of the song. And if the translator did a sloppy direct translation, we can have problems like the song feeling too cringe, or the songs not making sense, or even losing far too much of the original writer's vision. And there are some sentences that can be totally lost in their translation. A good example would be a proverb like, birds of a feather flock together. If I took the initiative to translate it directly into French, you would get something like, les oiseaux d'une plume deviennent un troupeau. This phrase would never be used by any French person in normal circumstances. What a French person would say is, ceux qui se ressemblent s'assemblent, but in English would give, these who look like each other group together. Another thing you have to look out for is how the lyrics sound. You might have nailed the translation of the song, but there might be problems with the overall melody and syllables. It's something that I have some experience with, as I myself sing in a choir. At our church, we sing in French, English, Lingala, Swahili, and sometimes Dutch. There are many songs that have been translated into different languages, but if you will directly translate them, you might see that some versions do not exactly say the same things. But they still will all feel pleasant to listen to, because the translators thought about how it would sound like. On rare occasions there also will be translators who make totally new lyrics to the song that do not have a direct connection to the original lyrics. Here is a good example. It is quite difficult to translate all of these sentences in French, so the translator just wrote new lyrics, and these are quite nice to listen to. It would sound like this. Nous sommes réunis autour de celui qui est présent, il est présent. Finding that balance between the interpretation of the lyrics and how the lyrics will sound like in the song is something that is not that easy to do. Every time Nerissa drops a cover of a song, I just see myself spamming these songs. I just love her singing so much. Another reason that I love Nerissa and am so interested in her is that she also sang in a choir. Like I said, I sing in a choir, or at least sang before college came and started kicking my ass. I really felt some kind of connection to her because of that. The last thing that makes me love Nerissa so much is the fact that she's just as much of a holo fan as the rest of us. She's obsessed with the other girls in hololive, and you can see it with how she acts on stream. The jokes or things she says are so relatable to me that I just can't see myself not orbiting around what she does. Then we have Koseki Bijou. The first clip I ever saw of Biboo was one where Chat for like 4 or 5 months straight tried to get her with a this nuts type of joke. But she never fell into it for these 4 months, until one legend got her. Biboo is a gamer of advance. She plays difficult games like Elden Ring and Sekiro while giving herself handicaps or playing on the hardest difficulty possible. But I think that is not the main reason why she is so well known. It has more to do with the fact that she's a meme lord of high caliber. Combine it with her zoomer brain and you get yourself one of the most replayed memes in hololive. Zartigana played a great part in her success as a meme lord. He made banger videos after banger videos, combining memes and Biboo streams to create this channel full of brain rots. And it was awesome. Like at some point when she was streaming DMC5, Casey Edwards, yes you know, the dude who composed and wrote Bury the Light, tuned into one of her streams and approved of what she did. Also, Biboo and Kyle's dynamic is my second most loved one in hololive, just behind Fuwamoco. And speaking of Fuwamoco, I don't really have the chance of tuning that much into their streams, because well, there are only 24 hours in a day, but I adore watching their clips. I just really loved the dynamic of the twin dogs. Fuwawa has her concerning siscom behavior, and Mokoko is just a blessing with her sassiness. And lastly, Shiori. I also do not tune into Shiori's streams that much for the same reasons as Fuwamoco, but she's the only one whose shorts I regularly see. Her out-of-pocket and dorky moments really make my days at times, and I would say that I love her for the same reasons as KuriMaki does overall. Advent is just full of personality. Whatever they do, I always end up feeling better after some of their content. Another thing I adore about Advent is that they collab frequently with each other, and I can't interpret it otherwise as them having an extremely strong bond. With my exposure to Advent, I also got introduced to the concept of agencies like Hololive, Nijisanji, Vshoujo, and so on. By the end of November and beginning December 2023, my YouTube recommended was full of Niji and Hololive clips, and till this day, it hasn't changed at all. I also started seeing more and more indie Vtubers. The difference between indie and corporate Vtubers is quite significant. Indie Vtubers do not have any contracts or rules to abide by, so they do pretty much everything that they want. So, some of them also end up doing really suspicious things. But their freedom also gives them such a wide range in creativity. I think the best example would be Filion, who hosted the Vtuber Awards. It was a gigantic event about indie and corporate Vtubers together and really connected the whole Vtuber community. I really would like to talk about Filion, but this would increase this video's length a tad bit too much for me. So if you want to know more about Filion, I recommend watching Rima Evenstar's video about her. It is a great one. There are lots more Vtubers that I've watched and seen clips of, but it would simply be impossible for me to mention all of them, so I will have to leave them out of this video. By the end of December, I knew pretty much all the good things that there was to know about this community. But it's at the same time that I also saw the dark things, and sadly, this community is not always sunshine and rainbows. I don't really like talking about drama anymore, but boy oh boy was this community filled with it. Going from scammers to fans being extremely parasocial to the corpus being extremely shady. Also, I think I have to rectify something I said. I told you all that I don't like talking about drama. That is true. But at the time, I was a sponge that absorbed pretty much every drama that caught my eyes. It just had such a big pull to me, and I couldn't avert my eyes off them, which finally got me to the stage of doom scrolling on Twitter. And yeah, because of all the drama that surrounded this community, I just got more and more invested in the space. But one specific event really drained me so much that it changed my perception of how to handle drama. There was this certain controversy concerning a certain company and a certain Vtuber that had been going on for quite some time, and while the community was in uproar for a really long period of time, it slowly began to die down with every party going their separate ways. But for some reason, unknown to even God himself, the company threw oil at the dying sparks of fire and let hell break once again. When I woke up and saw this when opening Twitter, I legitimately had my chest sinking. I felt sick to my stomach. I legit just wanted it to stop because this started being painful. And since then, I never got invested into drama the same way as before. This controversy was so bad that even the big commentary YouTubers like Charlie and Mudahar started talking about it. It was just that bad. Honestly, I don't really want to go over the many controversies that happened over the last years, so if you're really that intrigued, I would recommend watching channels like Rima Evenstar and Depressed Nousagi. They documented a lot of these events extremely well, shining light and giving more than agreeable opinions about certain topics of the community. And speaking of them, the last thing that made me love the Vtuber community even more are the many clippers and documentary channels that keep this community alive. Clippers and shorts are probably the strongest assets with which Vtubers grow with nowadays. There are so many Vtubers that got exposure thanks to these people. They are pretty much the advertisement needed for a lot of these streamers. And then we have the documentary channels. The two main ones I follow are Depressed Nousagi and Rima Evenstar. Channels like these are great for people that just got into the community and do not know that much about it. Rima and Diane mainly document the journey of the many Vtubers in the space, going over their hardships, rise to success, community, and so on. They also delve into some of the problematic topics of the community, like the parasocial relationships and the many controversies, big and small. These last months, they also began streaming and collabing with many other people in the community, making tier lists, having a fun time drinking, etc. These people are the main reason why I am up to date with everything that happened in the Vtubing space and got deeper in the rabbit hole. But this level of depth was not enough for poor old me. No, my curiosity got the better of me, and that is when I have been able to lay my eyes into an individual doing God's work by delving into one of the most cursed places of the internet. 4chan is a website that launched in 2003. It's the English counterpart of 2chan. It's an imageable site where the main goal would be to gather and start talking about many topics, going from sports, video games, anime, music, politics, weapons, pretty much everything. For those who aren't that well versed in the history of the internet, you might see it as a social platform like any other. But what if I told you that this platform is miles worse than Twitter or X like they call it nowadays? The big thing about 4chan is that you do not have to register anything to participate in a thread, so pretty much everyone on that platform is anonymous. And if there is one thing that social media has made me learn, then it's that people who can hide behind a PV and username are far more confident and less careful about what they might say online. So imagine a situation where you do not even need to register yourself behind a fake username and just can keep on being anonymous while chatting. Well, you get one of the most cursed and unhinged places on the internet. And it's also here that you can find the /VT thread. Here we have all the most unhinged people of the Vtuber community gathered, without any restrictions put into them, and they also are anonymous. It's there that some of the most taboo subjects of the community get talked about. Things like past lives, relationships, and in the worst cases, doxing. Also, I can guarantee you that most of the rumors and gossips that fans hear mainly stem from there. Most people flee 4chan like the plague, because it's an even more toxic and messed up environment than Twitter. But one brave individual saw the great possibilities of 4chan and delved into it for our entertainment. The person in question is this Parrot. Parrot 4chan is another member of the Vtuber community who also does content creation. But while other creators make content with the Vtubers and Kopers themselves as their main source of content, he uses the Vtuber community in 4chan. I think that you normally never would be able to make videos about anything 4chan related not feel extremely cursed or bad, but for some reason Parrot has been able to create some of the funniest content in the community. Like, he would take all the cursed and unhinged things said on that site and edit it to make it feel far less harmful than what it actually is. Even if you despise 4chan with a burning passion, I would recommend watching his videos, they are just that hilarious. And these were all the reasons that I got so hooked up into the Vtuber rabbit hole. And honestly, I am quite grateful for it. The Vtuber space is by no means any perfect, but I feel like it is one of the more enjoyable communities to be part of. Sure, it has its many flaws and worrying problems, but you will definitely be able to find a Vtuber that lets you have fun or comfort when you need it. There are a lot of talented and hardworking people there, and I think that it's worth giving this community a shot. You never know, you might find yourself as obsessed as me by how much you love their content. I hope you had a nice time watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I mainly make anime and gaming content, but I might delve into something that I find interesting every now and then. Also leave a comment. For starters, tell me who your favorite Vtuber is. Well, I've said enough. This was Zartigana. Until next time.